So good morning, everybody. And first of all, thank you very much for the organizers, the Unacademy and the Times of India for inviting me to talk to so many people like yourself. And I'm glad that an opportunity like this is given to all these students, which I guess in our times was impossible to even think about. I'm sure you must all be enjoying all the sessions. Let me, in a given time that I have, to touch upon a very important topic, basically related to the career choices in engineering. My name is Milind Atre. I'm the Dean R&D and the Professor of Mechanical Engineering at IIT Bombay. I'm also the Chair Professor there. And what my work as a Dean R&D is, basically I look at all the research that is happening to IIT Bombay and see that whatever technologies get developed at IIT Bombay are actually, see the light of the day. That means they go to industry or somebody gets a startup around the stuff and all that. I will talk in brief about my career. So my next slide basically talks about what I discuss today. I'll talk about my career because my career is such that after my engineering, I have done my research, and then I have gone to private companies, I've gone to government laboratory, and then I've come to academic institute. So I've seen all the three aspects, and I've guided several of entrepreneurs. So I want to touch base on all these aspects, which is difficult to touch upon in given time that I have, because every aspect needs a lot of discussion and every aspect can actually throw some light, because somewhere you will find that some similarity is there in my thoughts and your thoughts. So I'll talk about my career, then how I made my career choices, then some common understanding which I see amongst my students from IIT Bombay. Well, my choice is limited to only IIT Bombay students, and I come from the NIT, first NIT, and therefore I've seen those kinds of students. How to choose your career, some guidelines. Should one go for higher studies? Because at IIT Bombay, we normally see the students who are coming at higher studies. And what do I see going ahead from wherever you are? Some guidance. So let me talk about my career. And typically speaking, my career started as back as 1980 when I did my 12th standard. Uh, I did very well in both my 10th and 12th and stood in the boards and all that thing. And for me, the only two options were there, like in 1980s, and still today a lot of options are there. But the important option in those days were only engineering or medicine. You see, there were no engineering colleges like what we have today. We had only 5 or 6 engineering colleges in entire Maharashtra. Can you imagine this? There were only government colleges. There were no private colleges. IIT, NIT, VJTI, College of Engineering, Pune, Karhad, Aurangabad, and Amravati. These were the only colleges that were available, and therefore the competition was absolutely stiff. Similarly, there were only 5 or 6 medical colleges, and therefore to get admission to such colleges were absolutely difficult. I didn't know in 12th standard, nobody around us in my family were engineer, to be honest. Now you see engineers everywhere. But in our days, engineers were not around, doctors were not around. Very few people will be doctors or very few people will be engineers. And therefore, what choice to be made was actually not driven by somebody's experience. But I had a friend who was in my staying me colony. He was doing very well. He was also a board ranker, and he told me that no, for you, your background, engineering will be better option. And why mechanical engineering, which I take, again we didn't have the option of computer science, electronics in those days. They all came after 10 years later on. So mechanical engineering was supposed to be the evergreen branch still today, and that is why the option. So you can understand that engineering was actually an accident. I would have actually loved a social sector more, and I think right now I would have possibly a fit for medicine, but that's fine. I mean, you take the option in those days, and you want to excel wherever you are, and that was the mantra in those days. However, I knew that I'm not a real person for engineering, and IIT was a distant dream because I come basically from Nagpur, and Nagpur to Mumbai is 17-hour travel in those days. So you can imagine that going by train 17 hours, flights were not even conceivable in those days. Yeah, during the engineering, one of the revealing facts was I did my internship at IIT Bombay, at Tata Motors, and where I understood that this is not my cup of tea. This is not something I would love to do. because I saw people coming at morning and leaving at 5 o'clock and doing a lot of job. I was actually in the wrong section of auto maintenance, and I could see a lot of people doing work out there, which I never found it interesting. I would have loved to do some experiments of myself, but naturally, a company of this sort will not expose an intern to this. But the decision was made that this is not something I wanted to do, and I was absolutely sure that I would like to do something basically related to research, because I actually loved the mathematics, the analysis part of it, the the results that come from mathematical analysis and modeling, and that was, I thought, my cup of tea. So after the graduation, I was, of course, I got 2 or 3 jobs in the campus interview, but my interest was more in masters. In the masters also, I was actually always driven by, during my postgraduate days, I was always driven by my curiosity, and there was no other commercial angle to that thing. I was always driven by curiosity, and the two important aspects that always motivated me or inspired me in mechanical engineering were automobile and the refrigerator, because that is something we had seen, we actually can see. And therefore, of all the places I wanted to do my masters in automobile engineering, which was available only at 1 or 2 places in India, VJTI was one of the places where masters in automobile engineering was available. And in those days, in 1984-85, the automobile, we had only one Fiat that time, Premier Padmini, and these were actually getting, a lot of options were coming up, and a lot of possibilities of coming with different car, different design. Any 118 you may not have even heard about that time. A plant was coming up in India, in Mumbai, and Tatas were nowhere in the car that time. It was, they were only in trucks and buses. But this was the option which just drove me and inspired me that I should do something in automobile engineering. And that's why actually I, instead of coming to IIT, I wanted to go to VJTI, which was one of the best colleges in those days, and that was the only place where masters was available. And after doing my masters, actually I got a good placements in a company. I will not name the company, but they wanted me to sign a bond of 5 years, which I didn't want to do. And therefore, I got into, by accident, I happened to come to IIT, and I saw that so much of things to be done here, and every lab was buzzing with new ideas and new students. And there I understand for the first time that air around us can be liquefied. I could see liquid air, I could see liquid nitrogen. you know these are all lowering of temperature, and the gases get liquefied. This drove me crazy, actually, something I had never dreamt of. And that technology behind lowering temperatures to very, very low temperatures and liquefying these gases and storing these gases in liquid form was something I actually got crazy about. And this is what we call as refrigeration and cryogenics. You must have heard of cryogenic engine. So that is what drove me, and I actually got admission to the PhD program at IIT Bombay in 1986. And I actually spent 5 years doing my PhD in cryogenic engineering, where I actually tried to liquefy nitrogen. Liquefaction of nitrogen is required for various purposes. I will not come into that thing. And India was in dire need of such machines to liquefy nitrogen. And the project was given at IIT Bombay from Government of India to develop such liquefiers, because we were spending a lot of dollars. Now imagine in 1991 we were actually running dry completely. We had no foreign exchange, and the situation there. So we were trying to actually save the indigenous work was the priority. Indigenous development was the priority. Okay, I just finished my PhD in 91, and I got a scholarship to go to Germany. This is something I always wanted to do. And I got a scholarship from Germany for a postdoc. See, just imagine now at the age of 28, 29, you are a PhD. In those days, none of the 5 batches ahead of me or none of the 5 batches behind me had even come for a MTech or PhD then. Maybe a few MTechs, but not PhD definitely. So I got an advantage of having early career research. And let me tell you frankly, this research was never driven by any commercial interest that I would like to go in for this company or that company. It was purely out of my uh, curiosity and my research interests that I wanted to go into PhD. It had no other motive that I will get a good job after my PhD or something like that. So the lesson was basically, if you are interested in something, just go for it, and that passion drives you crazy later on. So this is where I actually got driven. I got driven into the cryogenic engineering, which is a very special class by itself. I went to Germany and actually see a big gamut of mechanical engineering, work with your hands, fantastic people. Mechanical engineering is something which is, as you know, all the companies, All the automobiles come from Germany and Japan. So here we were trying to again go down to very low temperature. I wanted to go to temperatures of, as you know, in Kelvin we can't go below minus 273 degrees centigrade. This is the limit. So here we're trying to go to 20 Kelvin, 25 Kelvin and things like that. So actually minus 250 degrees centigrade, and there are lots of usage at these low temperatures. Forget about that. After going to Germany, I got a call from one of the research lab, Department of Atomic Energy. In India, 1995 was again a period where a lot of scientists were called back. There was brain drain and all those things had started. I came and joined Department of Atomic Energy, worked there for 4 or 5 years to develop an indigenous machine which was under sanctions then. You remember the CERN collaboration, the CERN, the Large Hadron Collider. I was involved in this Large Hadron Collider from Indian side. Government of India has done enough good contribution to develop the superconducting magnets for the Large Hadron Collider, which is a big word, as you know, which is one of the biggest programs in India in those days. Then after working for 4 or 5 years, I got bored because the work was of terrific stature, very good research, but it was slow for me. And this decision I took on myself, and I was actually invited to join a company in England, in Oxford, called Oxford Instruments. This is a spin-off company from Oxford University. And again, I was very keen on doing research on products and innovation, where I worked for 5 years there also. I had several patents, publications from these places. In 2004, I happened to give a talk at IIT Bombay, and uh, IIT Bombay was my own IIT. In fact, I had got invitation from IIT Madras because I thought teaching was my cup of tea. I had worked already for some 10-15 years, and I thought it's good time for me to return. And it was always on my card to return to India, and IIT was the place. IIT Bombay invited me to join. I was not even interviewed by IIT Bombay, and they just gave me an appointment later. And I joined IIT Bombay in around 2005. So last 15 years I am with IIT Bombay. Earlier I spent around 6 years at IIT Bombay as a student, and now after 15 years I am looking at administration issue also. But then I realized that research and teaching is something is very good for my personality. So you try to identify where you belong to and what kind of what kind of things suit your personality. So this is entire about my career. Various decisions you can see I have taken various decisions, going for a postdoc in a situation where nobody was even doing PhD around me, but I was actually a single soul, who wanted to go for all those things. So then going to a research laboratory, going to a private company to do research, and coming back to a research institute like IIT to come and do teaching and research. My next slide is what are the common misunderstandings or common understandings amongst students like you. The first I will say with my experience now, if I get a good salary, I'll be happy. Does it suit you? I'm sure a lot amongst you will say that, oh, I'm happy if I get a good salary. No, it is not always true. I have got several students now from IIT. I have seen that they get a very good salary, but at the end of 5 years, 6 years, or even 10 years, they come back and they say, there's no interest in my work. I don't have any interest in my work. I have made a lot of money right now, but I actually get bored. I'm hating to go to the office nowadays because I don't find it exciting enough. So what they do, they got enough money now, they get a good salary, they got possibly joining consulting firms, and they got a lot of money and they want to invest that money, or they want to come with a new idea and invest in somebody's company, somebody's research idea. All right, so this is a new trend that is coming up. So if you get a good salary, you are happy. That's not a complete thing. And get a decent salary, but you could still be unhappy. But if you get more than what you wanted, you'll get bored in the company because that will not be an exciting job. Every job after 5 years, 6 years becomes a routine, and therefore you want a change. Second point is if I get a good salary, I can do any job. Can you just ask yourself, if I get a good salary, I can do any job? I mean, you can basically, drive a truck, a big truck. You might get good salary for transport, but will you like it? The lifestyle may not be suitable for your demands also. All right. So I'm just throwing these questions to you. Are these understanding or are they misunderstanding? For somebody, it will be good understanding. Somebody, it will not be a good understanding. So maybe you can judge for yourself. The third understanding or misunderstanding is only IIT can give me high paying jobs. Now, this is very important. Everybody feels that only IITs can give me good chance. No, that is not correct. And I've seen Several people coming from ordinary institutes, private colleges, government colleges have done wonderfully well because of their personality, because of their motives, because of their motivation, inspiration, all those things. So no, as an IITian, you can get the first cut. What I'm saying is basically, if I think about, did Sachin Tendulkar's son, could he become a good cricketer? Has he become a good cricketer? By now he should have come out. Did Sunil Gavaskar's son become a good cricketer? No. Did Abhishek Bachchan is acknowledged as big as what Amitabh Bachchan is? No. So I'll say that you can get a benefit of coming from big institute because you get a first check with you very fast. You can possibly, get a first job very fast, but that is not the thing. So wherever you are from, if you've got an interest and motivation, you can actually do. But yes, students from IIT Bombay can get a first very good job, but in order to continue and doing better and better and this job, it is their personality which should matter, not IIT. IIT is only for entrance. IIT is only for basically the first cut or the first door opening for you. That's it. But sustenance is definitely what you have to do. You have to, have it on your own. Okay, the next understanding could be, if you sit on the first bench, you will be a good engineer. I'm sure you can ask this yourself. This is not true. The first bench means I'm saying those who are high grade 9 pointers. I've seen several students from the backbenches have done wonderfully well as engineers and entrepreneurs and managers and everything like that. So I'll say that is a misunderstanding. The next is higher education and income are not related. Well, this is your call. If you do your MTech or PhD or postdoc, your income is not that great. Yeah, you'll get a fairly good enough in good income, but what you'll get a stability of thought processes, stability of life, and you can actually concentrate on your work. That is the only thing I can say. The last point, just read that career happens. It cannot be planned. Well, I'll say both of them too. The career can be planned, but the circumstances can change, and careers happens because you have to take correct steps and use correct opportunities at the given time. So these are very important things. The careers can happen. It cannot be planned. It can be planned. If you want to work towards it, you have to work towards it. But what is important, you have to utilize your opportunity at the correct time, and you have to take all the options available to you. Right? You have to take your judgment that will I do. If you remember, I had gone from Government of India job. I left my job at Atomic Energy and went to a private company, which very few people will do. Because I had a very settled life. I had a big house on the campus. I was getting good salary. But yes, this is very important. That can you take a break? Can you take that risk? Are you able to take that much of risk? These are all the questions you need to answer. In Indian context, this is very important that sometimes the career is a family decision. I'm not sure whether it's true anymore. In our days, it was. Your parents used to actually, think for you. Today, the families are very small, and therefore sometimes your parents may allow you to take whatever decision you want to take. But yes, you're in Indian context. This is not true in European or American context, however. But in Indian context, I'm sure that the career still are the parents are very sort of demanding from their students, and nowadays only one child and two children kind of stuff. So here it is very important that whether your career, your family decide or you decide. You can take your call. You can ask 10 people, but ultimately it has to be your call. It has to be your passion. It has to be your dream to do something what you wanted to. But yes, in Indian context, career still is governed by family decisions. Now, the question which you all must be asking yourself, because you're all working for your GATE exam, your all the entrance tests, should I go for a master's degree? Now, let me tell you, master's degree, and I suppose master's degree when I'm saying from a good institute like IITs or NITs, it is very important that MTech at, let's say, IIT Bombay, and I give you my example because I'm teaching a lot of MTech students. This is a very important thing that, and uh, I feel that MTech demands a lot of perseverance and hard work, right? What you have learned, yes, I just say one question, is there a specific age for pursuing MTech and PhD? So I'll say PhDs I've seen people have done after 30s and 40s, but MTech should be done between 20s and 30s. Okay, I mean, when you are between 20 and 30, that would be a good career choice. If you are 30 plus, a lot of industries do also sponsor for MTech. That is also a good thing. That's not a problem. So I will not say age that a good barrier somebody has written, but MTech could be done between 20 and 30. Well, PhD can be done. I've seen people coming after 60 also to come for PhD because it's completely out of their interest. But what is important is wherever you are from, I've seen when you come to IITs, your backgrounds are, you have passed your exams, but that doesn't mean your basics are clear. So in my teaching of thermodynamics, for example, I teach mechanical advanced thermodynamics, but their thermodynamic bases are absolutely unclear. And therefore, first you have to, because you have done your studies for passing an exam, but not gaining knowledge. You're not getting correct knowledge, basically. So I'll say it's a lot of hard work to study. The first semester is very, very tough for a lot of people, but the second semester onward, you get used to it. So first of all, I say gauge yourself with the GATE exam, and let's not have a false opinion about ourselves. Are you a GATE person? Are you, just a few thousand people actually pass out of so many lakh students that appear for GATE. So please see that, are you capable of that thing? Are you understanding your inner voice? Do you want to really come into research? Do you really want to have a passion for that thing? There's no need that everybody has to go for masters or something like that. But you please look at yourself, and do you really get turned on with the idea that you want to do masters and basically get into a depth of a particular topic? Choose the topic again. Many times the branches are now, for example, energy science branch can be taken by any background. You don't have to be a mechanical or electrical, but you come chemical engineering, from even computer science engineering, or even metallurgical engineering, you can go MTech in energy science. So there are all interdisciplinary branches. Systems and control at IIT Bombay, for example, energy science, nanotechnology are the branches which can be taken people by students of any branches. So you decide which branch would you like to go. And of course, ensure that your family support is there, because you are just going to spend 2 years again without any money, just scholarship to support you, nothing else. So again, you have to get your family support. Now, choosing your career. If suppose what kind of career you would like to do, very important. What is your personality like? Are you an outgoing person? Do you love meeting people? And all these are very important aspects. Yeah, when I say, do you like traveling? Do you like meeting new people? Do you like reading? Do you like to talk to a lot of people? Do you have to debate a lot? Right? You could be a good person for marketing, management, human resource also. Right? A lot of engineers do that thing. Do you enjoy research and teaching? Are you always captivated by the new ideas? Do you want to really do some hands-on by yourself? Again, I'm talking about next. Are you a do it by yourself hands-on person? Do you like to open your automobile and sort of put it back together? Do you look at all the instrument with your hands? That kind of thing. So you can actually come into research only when you know that yes, you love all this research equipment. I would like to develop my own experimental setup, or I would like to develop my own simulator model, algorithms. Something, a big machine, can I develop machine with my equations here and play with that machine numerically when I see computer simulation, right? And the last two I'm talking about, are you a DIY person? Are you a hands-on person? Are you innovative? These are very important. Last two questions are very important. The world is now getting driven by innovation. If a person like me, who is now knows everything, who now will go by a traditional method, I will not be able to do innovation. But a person like you, who has possibly never seen a refrigerator which produces 2 Kelvin, for example, you can come with your own idea. I will be governed by, it's called a dilution refrigerator. I will be governed by my old tradition now. But you guys are absolutely ignorant, and therefore you can come with completely new idea. And therefore, I will say, are you innovative? Because you don't have any bias. You don't have any background of exposure also. So you can come with absolutely brilliant new idea. So are you innovative enough? These last two things are a very important context, because that is where the entrepreneurship also is governed by. If you are going to be entrepreneurial in a technology, basically, these are all the options. So I'm seeing the first option actually drives you towards, and I'll come to the next slide, which so you can see the career of different choices that you can make. You can see a research first, research labs. When I say a person like you can go to BRC, ISRO, DRDO, that kind of a thing. If you believe that this is something you enjoy, because you can here work on a very big projects. big marvelous project, development nuclear reactor or space satellite. I work very closely with ISRO because of cryogenic engine. DRDO to get into missile technology, all these simulators, mathematics, modeling, metallurgy, new metal joining techniques, and all those things are there. At the same time, you got new algorithms, you got a systems and control, all right, measurements, sensors technology. These are all, you don't have to really do master for this, but appear for an entrance test after your BTech exam, BTech B exam, and go for such. The selections are out of 100 students, around 5 to 10 students are absorbed in these institutes. The second, I'll come to the management. I mean, I'll come to answer later. The management. If you got a, you think, as I said, if you're a kind of a travel-like person, talkative person, even if you're a 6.8 graduate, for example, somewhere around 50-60%, you can be a fantastic manager. Such people actually should go for then management or MBA kind of a thing, where they can look after supply chain, marketing, human resource, strategy of a company, and things like that. If you believe in research, and I said, if you love teaching, so teaching is not that everybody can do, by the way. If you teach 1.5 hours in a class and that you have to do every day, no, it's not important. It's something you have to worry about. A lot of people who have gone into teaching because they couldn't do anything anywhere, and that's a completely mismatch. They do horribly then, right? So you have to understand that yes, you love teaching. When you convince somebody of your thoughts, the kind of pleasure you derive by convincing them is something terrific. All right, so but teaching, if you want to do teaching today, you have to do for masters and PhD and postdocs also. So it's not very simple. So it has to be backed up with a lot of degrees, and not anybody can do. And again, 1 in 100 should go for teaching. And then of course, public sector nowadays. Public sector is again a little boring job, but yes, you get a good salary, you get a good exposure. You join the ladder and come to a junior engineer, senior engineer, manager, and all those things. That kind of thing happens here. And lastly, I'll come to the entrepreneurship, where you got technology base and you're an outgoing person. So management plus technology, if you got both things right at right places, I think what you should do is form a team of 3 or 4 people, because everybody cannot have everything. Somebody from technology, somebody from uh, banking side, finance side, somebody from uh, marketing side. Can you all come together and think about a problem? There are several opportunities in Indian context where you can actually find out the problem statements. So I was a head of a business incubator called SIGN at IIT Bombay, which is Society for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, from where around 150 companies have come, startups have come, and I've seen young students like yourselves at the age of 20, 21 have come with brilliant innovation. They have their patents filed. You go for your mechatronics, you go with your robotics, right? You go with nanotechnology, nano manufacturing, systems and control, come with a new hydrogen-based vehicle, for example. All these are possibilities, but there are so many problems in Indian context. All these problems can actually be, you have to just sense the opportunity. And we got a problem of traffic, for example, traffic signal. Can it be automated? So we need a solution. Can we have people to be identified who are going with speeds, very high speed they drive with? Can it be without having a person, but can a technology help you? All these are drunken driving. Can you actually detect drunken driving with your sensor technology and a device that actually can be kept in a car and can sense my breath analyzer, which ultimately, the police stops me, but can I know nothing, right? But these are very important things. I can see somebody saying that yes, PSUs are funded, heavily funded, big government project that you can work and so on. Yes, definitely PSUs are the places like ONGC, right? And there are a lot of public sectors where GAIL, Gas Authorities of India Limited. There are, but you have to be very patient there. You join at the age of 12, let's say 25. You climb very slowly. There is a huge hierarchy in the system, but yes, your future is sort of granted basically. That means you will do reasonably well in your life without big accidents here and there. You not do big innovations or something like that, but yes, you'll be driven by the typical engineer, manager, and all that thing. You'll make a lot of money, so that is guaranteed. You got to assure job for yourself. You get possibly a good accommodation also, so you can find out, and you can see, of course, big projects being erected also. So everybody's choice basically. We would like to go for a PSU. Yeah. And the last slide I will say is even if you start, even if you start from where you are right now, there's always a chance to correct. And nowadays, a lot of people see, not all these entrepreneurs I was talking to you about uh, are an engineers, right? Kiran Mujumdar, for example, or Satya Nadella, for example, or Ajay Banga. They're not, none of them are engineers. So you don't have to have, everybody doesn't have to be a technology person. You are a technology person, bring in the other guy who actually understand the marketing part and bring it together. So all these people actually make a team, and this team making is a very, very important thing. So team making, very important thing if you want to go for entrepreneurial activity. All right, and go for a business incubator where actually you can get housed down there. Now my last slide, this is about, even if you start with a wrong career, and you can actually within 4 or 5 years you understand, no, this was not some my cup of tea, this is something I don't enjoy, there's absolutely no problem, you can actually correct your career. All right, so you first, what is required to be known is, what is that you enjoy. You enjoy good management person. Do you want to sit in a good under air conditioned office and order? Go for management. If you feel that you want to do something yourself with your hands, so go for entrepreneurial activity of yourself. If you feel that, no, this subject, just I'm just interested in knowing more about that, go for your masters or a PhD in that topic. Nobody stops you. At the age of 25, I've seen several students working after 4 or 5 years. At the age of 26, 27, coming for masters. A lot of people who have worked with L&T, for example, right across outside IIT Bombay. We got Larsen and Toubro, we got a Godrej, we got a Toyo company, we got a Johnson and Johnson, we got Siebes, right? So a lot of companies are there. I have seen several people there actually working for 4 or 5 years, have even come for master's degree. But then they again work for GATE exam and all those things, because getting into IIT is not simple. Getting into other NITs could be that way simpler as compared, because IIT Bombay, and as you know, is very difficult to get admission for. So you should be sure. But what I'm saying is basically mid-term correction is absolutely possible, right? I'm saying with your example, if you are working for 4 or 5 years, my again plan is, can you become an entrepreneurial team also? You develop a team, because you know all your friends very well, and can you just bring them together and develop possibly an entrepreneurial solution, which is an opportunity for all of you. So these are just thought processes I would like to put in front of you. Go for your masters. Uh, go for your masters, but before I say going for masters, again you see that your fundamentals are correct, because coming to IIT, and I've seen 30% students leaving MTech program because they can't cope up with our exam systems. Our exams are very, very mathematical oriented. They're not subjective decision that you can take, write a big answer for this thing. They're all maths based. You have to be absolutely clear which formula, how do I derive. We don't expect mugging. We don't expect that you remember your formula by heart. That is what I had done like an undergraduate. But here, all books are open in front of you, and you got an open book test basically, and therefore you have to solve your problem looking at books also. If I say design some bridge, for example, for civil engineers, they will know all the formula and all that thing, but they should know the process of designing such a bridge, for example, right? And therefore, all these are very important aspects of getting into masters. And forget the PhD. I will not talk about the PhD right now, but definitely masters also demanding. If you are sure that this is the point that you don't want to get a masters, then you just ask yourself the question which I had asked you: what kind of person you are? You see your personality, and you see what you love more, and don't get into a trap that I will just walk in anywhere and I can actually start making money and I'll enjoy it. No, you will make a lot of money but you'll not enjoy it, or you will enjoy but you'll not make money. These are both options are available, but I will always say that look for your passion. And my last choice was this: passion and work, can they exist together? This is the best thing that can happen in somebody's life. If you have got a passion for a particular job and that becomes your work, then that is the best thing according to me to happen. I'll stop here and take the questions if any. Otherwise, I've got a few questions for you. Yeah, somebody's asking, the scope of CFD is phenomenal right now. Computational fluid dynamics has got a lot of scope. You can go, of course, and if you become CFD expert. But when I say CFD expert, you don't have to know the packages, software package. Can you do your own programming? Can you do your own programming? That is. Can you write your own program? Can you develop your own algorithm? These are the things I will look for, because using somebody's developed ready-made package is very simple, but that is without understanding the package itself. So what has gone into the package is very important. So MTech or PSU, the question. Yeah, this is a question you have to answer. I will always say personally, go for MTech and then go for PSU, because nowadays even PSU sponsor you for MTech. So a lot of students do come for MTech, and we have got a provision now that if you get an admission to the PSU during your MTech, you just you can actually tell the PSU that let me complete my first year here, and the project can be done at PSU. So that is a system which we have developed at IIT Bombay. That yes, you can work here, just finish your first year. The second year only the project which can be done by joining the PSU. All right, so you can see that thing also. Mechatronics is absolutely a brilliant topic. Cryogenics, somebody is asking. Yes, cryogenics is a very specialized, however, if you have to have a particular interest in that thing, right? Scope for chemical engineer for is low. Oh, terrific scope for chemical engineers. Is all fuel, isn't it? It's all fuel driven. So you have a combustion process happening down there. There's a mass transfer, heat transfer. Absolutely. So combustion and all these are phenomenal, and modeling, process modeling and all that thing are all chemical engineering. Is sponsored MTech available at? Yes, there are several students available. Sponsoring, of course, has to be done by industries. They pay for you, and after doing your MTech, you can actually join the industries again. Yes, there are possibilities. Hybrid electric vehicle, absolutely. A lot of people are working EV on batteries and direct PhDs. There is a direct, right after BTech, you can come directly for PhD also, provided you are sure about it. So what you do the first year of MTech and then join several, done for PhD work. You don't here complete your MTech. We got dual degree also MTech. You can convert your MTech to PhD also later on. So yes, all these options are available. Can a mechanical, what about aerospace? Aerospace has got little less scope in the private industry, but yes, it has got huge scope. But aerospace and mechanical engineering, according to me, are similar branches. So wherever mechanical engineer works, aerospace person also can work. How does I can? The questions are going pretty fast. So how much gate rank needed for MTech in IIT Bombay? See, I will not be able to tell the rank. But yes, I can see that because there are interviews. Actually, there's a cutoff thing, and then you directly don't come on gate, but we have got interviews, and because we don't like gate exams so much here, we want to have our own test and interview also many times. So gate is just for shortlisting, and then we do our own exam and interviews also. I've developed which IITs for MTech in mechanical engineering robotics. So mechatronics, see, mechatronics and robotics are very specialized courses. Nobody will give you MTech in IITs on these topics, but you can do MTech in systems and control, for example, or design, mechanical under design stream you can do. And then you can take all the, because there are a lot of electives available these days. You don't have to take the same courses, but electives towards mechatronics, for example, can be taken. What types of, what about PSU's privatization? No, I can't, this is the policy matter. Future of mechanical engineering, somebody is asking. Oh, brilliant questions. Yes, I think all, as long as the machines are there, mechanical engineers are bound to be there, right? Mechanical engineers have always seen ups and downs, but machines are have to be there. Now we are working on medical healthcare. A lot of medical machines are coming. I am working, for example, on MRI machine. All right, so everybody, if all driven by devices, the entire world is basically on devices. So mechanical engineering always there. Don't worry about these things. And every branch, mechanical, electrical, civil, metal, material science, they all will be there. Don't worry about these things. Future of biomedical engineering. Biomedical engineering is going very fast, and IIT Bombay, you can again come for biomedical engineering also, right? Future of civil engineering. Oh, you can see so many constructions happening, bridges and flyovers and developments happening in Indian context. In fact, in IIT Bombay, I'll say the civil engineering department makes so much of money in consulting that nobody, no other departments do that thing. So civil engineering is driven by all this development that is happening in the Indian context right now. Computer science is, of course, right now, all this artificial intelligence, data analytics is driven by all the algorithms that happen from computer science. But AI, ML is actually cutting across all the branches now. So whether you are a mechanical, chemical, or whatever, data analytics is everywhere. So we are actually making data analytics news. Every branch can go for a master's again in those departments also. I think I talked about chemical engineering. So placement scenario in mechanical engineering, I think after the masters, I believe basically. So I think almost everybody gets the place, and when I say everybody, almost 80% of the students are placed in IIT itself. So in the campus interview itself. Right? So future of automobile engineering, oh, future of automobile engineering is changing so fast. It's all, electric vehicle, hybrid, battery, new design, new concepts, lightness, materials, they're all changing. So automobile engineering all going to stay here. I think about 2 minutes left. What about aeronautical engineering? See, aeronautical engineering, as I said, is a branch which actually overlaps 60-70% with mechanical engineering. So even if you are aeronautical person, your interest in aeronautics are limited in the sense that only a few companies will be there, like L&T and Godrej, and who work for the companies. But yes, if you want to go to foreign companies, that's good possibilities. But most of the times, the aeronautical engineer will work where mechanical engineers also can work. BTech in mechatronics. You got a good scope of work. I still feel that at undergraduate level, mechatronics becomes a very specialized topic. Always go for a very broad-based topic, broad-based branches, so that you can converge. You can actually find out which is of your interest and then specialize in those branches. That is the thing. So as far as possible, take a broad base, like a pyramid. A base is very, very broad, and as you go up, you actually can get specialized in your masters and your PhDs and postdoc kind of a work. MTech or ME or MS. So MTech, ME, MS are not different. They're all master's degree. MS, of course, you do abroad. ME you can do at various government colleges, and as well as in IISc Bangalore, you get ME degree. So they're all class degrees basically. Master from IIT from abroad. Yes, if you got a lot of money, you can go abroad. Abroad is the same as what IITs will give you, but abroad you will get a different experience. That's the only thing. How to deal, how to how different deals happen down there. You meet several people, several best people from other countries. So that's an experience. And IIT is still experience. In fact, IIT is in more demanding. Admission to IIT is much difficult than getting for MS. All right, because in IIT every MTech student gets scholarship, while in MS you have to fund yourself. And now with this COVID and all that, everybody will have to fund, and 50-60 lakhs you have to spend for your MS. What is the MTech? What type of work in BRC? Oh, BRC, you can work again on, microelectronics. If you are electrical engineer, civil engineering for development of new reactors, new nuclear power stations, mechanical engineering, all heat exchangers, turbine, rotor dynamics, chemical engineering is mass transfer with the reaction that is happening. So every branch is absorbed. Biomedical also is happening because there is radiation, food radiation, and everything is there. MTech in biomedical engineering is a very important thing nowadays, and biosciences and bioengineering. We have a bioscience and bioengineering department here in this department. We have got people who are actually MBBS also, electronics engineer also, and MSc also. They all work together. So people who are doing drug development, people who are doing device development, people who are doing sensor development, and people who are actually working on drug discovery also. They all coexist. It's a completely interdisciplinary approach in our bioscience bioengineering department, BSBE, what we call it as. I think I will stop here right now. May I hear from Saurabh or Dev? Is 10:45 done, and I may have to stop at this point. Thank you very much, all the students, and thank you, Times of India and An Academy, for giving me this chance to talk to the students. I hope everything will go best for you. You can actually send email to me also, and I will try to answer your questions. But all the very best for your future. Thank you very much. Thank you.